Hello, my friends. It's Catherine from Let's Get Real Chattin with Catherine. And today I have the absolute honor of sitting down and having a chat with Teza Zialcita. And she is the author of Universal Conscious Self. Universal Conscious Self. And it is available now online. You can get it by going to the guest tab on the navigation bar, top navigation bar of Let's Get Real Chattin with Catherine.com. Scroll through to find her name, Teza, T-E-Z-A, Zialcita. And you will get a link by going to her profile page. You can get a link to her book, as well as to connect with her if you want to do private reading with her, because she reads Akashic Records and is a very grounded woman. She's a nurse and in her regular life, and she just has a wonderful warm heart and an ability to connect with people in a very real way. Her story is unique to her, and it is also something that speaks to a lot of things that can happen in other people's lives. And that's the purpose of sharing, is to transform the fear of speaking out, the fear of being real, the fear of looking at our dark side, our shadows, or things that have happened to us in life that sometimes have been really debilitating. She has had a lot of those experiences. She had a near-death experience when she was 2 years old. She died she had diphtheria, so she had this experience, and then she came back, and she still to this day remembers that experience. On top of that, she has had a hard life, and she was born in the Philippines and immigrated to Los Angeles and then to Canada. She's had a forced abortion when she was about 15, and then she had a second pregnancy where she gave the baby up for adoption, which to her brother, which is pretty awesome. She also had some really powerful awakenings around this. She also experienced incest in her family, and so all of these things came up today. Also, some connections to the Roman Catholic Church, the religion, she was a practicing Roman Catholic. That's how she was raised. I was raised that way as well. And we both were able to share some of that expansion of our understandings through our spirituality and our growth, and how that learning what happened to the child within us and healing it can empower us in our daily lives as mature adults. And so I just thought it's an amazing, raw, real chat. And I'm so delighted to be able to share it with you. So we're going to get right into it. And I want you to know she's going to be back. We're going to do some more chats and explore into some of these other aspects of things she does and issues that come up. And wherever it goes, we'll follow that lead. So I really hope you enjoy this. I certainly did. It's not a easy chat to listen to. It wasn't an easy chat for her or for me, I don't think, because of the fact that we're talking about some very delicate matters. But it was enjoyable just the same, because she's just such a gentle spirit, and it's such an enjoyable process to be able to get to know people, real people doing real things. And she's very inspiring. So I hope you will check out her book, Universal Conscious Self. I hope you will share this link and like the YouTube channel, the video, and also subscribe to the page, because the more subscribers we get, the more options I think I have to expand the show and reach more people, which is what I'm really wanting to do. And if this you're listening to the audio version only, which is on Blog Talk Radio for now, I would really appreciate it if you share it from there. So blessings to you, and let's get into this conversation with Teza right now. All right, welcome back to Let's Get Real Chattin with Catherine, the online chat show where we go into the deep with our guests and explore their lives and things that they're doing that inspire. And my guest today certainly does that. And my guest today is Teza Zialcita. And she is joining me from snowy White Rock today. It's December, and they don't usually get a lot of snow, but they have some today, so that's very cool. She's probably doing that in sympathy for us in Alberta, because we've got plenty of snow, trust me. So welcome to the show, Teza. How are you?
I'm great, thank you, Catherine. You probably brought the snow in here.
They knew we were going to do this show today, and so therefore sent you a little snow so you could feel a little Christmassy.
Yeah, it's fun. Actually, it's beautiful.
It is, it's refreshing because it does sort of, it's like a good rain, it clears the
Yeah,
air and it takes on a different, everything looks different when it's covered in snow.
yeah, it's gorgeous.
As
Love
long
it.
as you don't have to drive, right? That's the only problem with places that don't normally get a lot of snow. They don't, they don't tend to have a lot of snow removal equipment and people with snow tires and all that.
Well, they were prepared. Yesterday they told us. So,
Oh, well,
yeah,
that's good.
that's good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tessa has a new book out, and it's very exciting, and it's one of several that are coming. She's got a couple more on their way, apparently. So the first book is called, and I just want to make sure I get the name right, Universal Conscious Self, and it is available today. And you can go to Let's Get Real Chattin with Catherine.com to the guest tab on the top navigation bar, and you can see all the guests, but you can find Tessa's name, go to her page, and then you'll find links to her website and how to get the book and so forth. And we're going to talk about not just the book, because you can read the book. What we want is the background story. How did Tessa get to the point of writing this book? And you've had a very interesting life, as many people do. It's interesting when you really talk to someone. Most people have had events in their lives that that other people wouldn't see. Like, we don't wear our life experience so much. I mean, you do. You'll see it in lines on people's faces or things like that. If you really look, you can kind of sometimes see that they've either had maybe some difficulties or some, sometimes, not always. But other people, you would never know. And I find that so interesting. And so the background story, to me, is what helps us to get to know each other, helps us to see that even though somebody looks like they got it all together, they're living their life really well, it isn't without their challenges. There are challenges in life, and it's how we deal with them that determines how the quality of life we're going to have. So that's where I want to go. You didn't start off, right? You're a nurse in your other life, right?
Well, I'm still a full-time nurse.
That's what I mean. When you're not writing and you're not being an author and you're not dealing with Akashic records and readings for people, you are also a nurse, which takes you to a lot of life and death type of situations, does it not?
Yes, it's an amazing journey, really. We could do all this beautiful service. I love helping, so I think that's why I'm in that space.
Yeah.
Helping others. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to go back to you before you were a writer. That's where
Yeah.
I mean, I know where you're at now. I do want to talk about some of, because
Actually,
everybody's a complicated, right? I mean, we're not one dimensional, that's for sure. And so
yeah.
being a nurse and being called into that kind of service and being with people in their difficulties in that way is also part of who you are. But before you went into nursing, where you weren't born in Canada, were you?
I was born in the Philippines, and I was there for 17 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
But
right.
I think, yeah, I want to start with my near-death experience when I was 2 years old. So that's where all this knowing, I'm now in a space of understanding the bigger picture of my incarnation right now. Because when I was 2, I had this vivid vision of my mom carrying my body and my 2 brothers running in the hospital hallway. So it was like my family were wondering, how can a 2-year-old remember, how can I remember this vision? Because our consciousness has memory, our soul has that memory. And growing up as a child, I was always talking to my guide, an angel. I named her Guadalupe. And I'm just like, this girl full of wonder. I'm always talking to animals, talk to the frogs, ducks. I have all this beautiful nature surrounding me in exotic Philippines. So that was my background, literally having psychic visions and dreams and prophecy. Yeah.
Okay, so so it wasn't part of it's not like you inherited or you're, sometimes you grow up in a family and the grandmother is psychic or whatever, but that wasn't it. They didn't know what was going on with you.
They didn't know. But I have a feeling my mother knows, but she wants to suppress it.
Okay.
Because when I was growing up, she always tells me, when you have pain, you go somewhere that nobody can see you, and you take that pain in the energy and just take it out, release it. And now I know it's energy clearing, energy releasing.
So she knew that, but she didn't know the language of today.
Yes.
But she also thought it was to be done in secret.
Yeah.
Also interesting.
Because people will think you're crazy when you're doing that.
In the information you sent me, you were talking about you were raised Catholic. So and now I was raised Catholic, Roman Catholic too, and so I have some awareness of some of the practices and traditions and also beliefs that are involved. And every country, there's also different cultural things that also come into the religious things, right? Because I mean, the Catholic Church is all over the world, but there's all different cultures that also play a role. So what in my growing up, I mean, I remember being told anything to do with the metaphysical was evil. Anything to do with being a psychic or seeing the future or we were told that, which is silly because in the Bible it's very clear that being a seer and it was a very important thing. People recognize that. I mean, so it's funny that we had that belief. But is that part of? Was your mom Catholic, and was that part of the keep it a secret?
Well, my mom was very strict. We were brought up kneeling down and praying the rosary every 6 p.m. And so Mother Mary is a big part of my journey. So what happened is, literally speaking, I went through a journey with the saints. Like I would have apparitions, like I would see, I would hear music from Saint Faustina. It's just amazing. I would see visions of the Divine Mercy. I had a lot of miracles or raptures, as you call it. So
from the time when you were little, like after you had the first experience of you had diphtheria, right? And you did die and you had a near death experience, and then you still remember that to this day?
Yes, I do. It's so vivid. I remember there's an oxygen. It is actually like a tent. And I Googled it, and that's actually like oxygen was that time, 1965. And it's just, because we're multidimensional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you wouldn't have some people do have memories from back then, but most of us don't have conscious real memories of a 2-year-old phase. So to have that memory, then it's not a dream, it's an experience that's so profound. But from that time on, would you say that you were always then you had this other world that into the different dimensions and with the angels and talking to guys? Did it always continue?
It was like 9 years old. I'd seen ghosts, like the ghost of my grandmother and my cousin, and I've always known like where would I live. Like at 12 years old, I know that I was gonna move to Vancouver. I've seen so many visions that I'm going to that place or something. And then I think it stopped believing. I stopped believing in these manifestations when I went through suffering when I was a teenager. I was 15 years old and I had an abortion, and it brought me into a big, deep depression, and it's almost like I want to kill myself.
Right.
Yeah, it was really, I was really angry at God because I blame him, like, why would you bring me back here when, this is not what I want. This is suffering. And
that would be very hard at that age, at 15. Did you have to make that decision by yourself?
No, I actually wanted the baby. I wanted to keep the baby, but my family has this reputation to protect, how it is with family, especially in the Philippines. I grew up with 6 brothers and 3 sisters, so it's really big.
Yeah.
Not to, it's just it. But, so it's against my will. And, yeah.
Well, then that would have a lot of, if it wasn't something you wanted and you wanted to keep the baby, and maybe you had this, realization like the baby was part of you. So like when you say you wanted to kill yourself, I can see where cellularly, you would be having that connection to the baby. So, so that was at 15.
Yeah, I was really young.
Yeah. Did you, and you had, because of that, you basically said, okay, God, I'm not having any part of your stuff.
Yeah, I was very angry. And I literally lived an angry life. I was like, I ran away. I remember I ran away at 17. I got into, and then the police found me in San Francisco because we migrated in California.
Say that again?
We were immigrants in California.
Okay.
And I was missing at 17 in San Francisco.
You ran away in San Francisco when you were new to the country, didn't know anything, and you ran away? Oh boy, that's something, right? You really didn't want to be in that space.
I didn't really want to be with my family.
Yeah.
Because there's also something about things that happened between me and my father, which is actually, like, now I'm seeing it as a sacred contract, because that's where I'm doing a lot of healing with incest victims. So that's where the darkness is.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, we see that a lot in some, like, I mean, when you talk about incest and rape and really overpowering, taking people's power away, and especially when it's in families like that, and from what we know now with energy work and how multidimensional we really are and how layers of our bodies, this is where it's becoming more clear to a lot of people that sometimes those things are happening. And like you said, it's a sacred contract. It's from past lives. It's from other experiences like you had. So maybe because you brought up that sacred contracts and that, what's your understanding of that? Maybe that'd be helpful for the listeners and people watching.
My soul wanted to learn forgiveness and unconditional love. So that's the bigger picture of my incarnation. That's why it's a sacred contract, because my father is the one that's going to bring that forth. Because if I have forgiven him unconditionally, and that would be my highest potential in talking about false perspective.
Okay. So we were talking about, and once again, I want to maybe let the people watching know that sometimes when I have high energy people on the show, especially people who are really doing work in the energy fields, sometimes the energy gets a little excited in the room, and the transmission can be funny, and we're working with that to try to keep it clear and asking everybody to Keep it calm.
Yeah.
Keep it, because you'll see it like that, how the picture will get a little blurry, and or a lot of people. I mean, it happens to people when they're not doing this kind of work, but I find it happens a lot when I am doing it with people who are into this work. So I want to take people back to, so you're a little girl and you've had a near-death experience at 2 years old, which you still remember to this day.
Yes.
And then you had, you're dealing with very strict lifestyle and religious beliefs and so forth, and it's not, you're not talking about it with your family so much, that your connection to the angels and all this stuff's happening as a little girl. Then you are immigrated to San Francisco, and then you ran away.
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, you had the abortion in
in
the Philippines?
Yes, I had the abortion in the Philippines, and I almost died because it was illegal abortion.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and they did the DNC without any anesthesia.
Oh.
Yeah, literally, my brother carried me, and it was buckets of blood.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. And I mean that, that's the whole issue, is like for another show, I guess. But I mean, that's the reason we have these situations where people all over the world are talking about women's rights, and to be able to have health care, to be able to have procedures done safely, and not in some backward woods place with unhealthy situations. And I'm not saying that there's a whole dynamic around whether abortion itself, and there's all kinds of aspects to that, and in your case, you didn't want to have the abortion, so your body would be already stressed about that, and then to have this kind of in this way, and it breaks my heart when I hear that, because it's the same thing. You didn't have a choice. It was,
yes, I didn't have a choice, and I named the baby Angel, Jasmine.
Nice.
Yeah, she's actually my spiritual angel. She's my child.
Yes, absolutely.
I actually do a lot of healing with mothers that had abortions, and they don't realize that they're actually grieving for their aborted baby. So when I do a healing with them, I ask them to name their child, and that connects them to their healing.
Even a miscarriage. Yeah. And I'll share with you too, like, I mean, this isn't exactly on the same thing, but I really get that connection, that cellular connection to a child that's grown within you, because I had that experience when my son was killed in a car accident. The reaction that I had, like, I knew it happened, and we had to wait to find it till they brought his body and everything for the funeral. So when I saw his body, which I insisted on doing because I needed to, he's my baby, right? He's my firstborn, and he's my baby, and my other son was also in the room with me. But that is when I really understood that cellular connection, was because I had this experience when I as soon as I saw him, I had this amazing gift. It was it's for another show, but I had this amazing gift of where I realized in the moment he wasn't in his body at the point of impact. So I realized what happened to the body, all the injuries on his body, he didn't physically experience every one of those things. I mean, it was terrible, but I let out this scream that it wasn't even like my own voice. I don't even know where it came from. It was totally primal. I could feel it right from my root chakra. It left my body. It was like a huge release. And everyone else that was in the outside, in the funeral home, they weren't in the room with me, And of course, when they heard this scream, they thought it was because of what I was seeing. And it wasn't what I was seeing at all. It was this release of this letting go, this whole the power of the connection to the physicality that I was letting go of. And it was, yes, it was really painful, but it was also really it was really different to experience, to be in the room, to be the one doing that screaming, which I had no control over. It was just something that was a very powerful experience. So I really get that when you carry a child within your womb, it becomes a part of you. And that's probably why, like, a lot of times we talk about that, how mothers are connected to their children in a way that is such a bond. And it's they've grown within you for that length of time. So I think that's very cool. So, and I'm sorry I went a bit off track on that, but just because...
That's beautiful. It's a beautiful sharing.
Yeah, you just made it so clear to me, like the cellular connection, and because I had that experience myself, I really get that, that cellular connection. So you're part of your work then is helping people who are having some trauma after an event like that.
Yes.
And so for some people, like, they would say, oh, I did, that didn't bother me. I needed to do that because I was, it was my career or my whatever. I had to make that choice or the decision. So I had no I had no trauma about it. But if they look, if there's a chance that may be true, but because there is that cellular connection, it's almost impossible that they couldn't have some kind of feeling in their body.
They go through denial. There's a lot of denial in their psyche, and because they have to perform, so they're functioning in their I need to be strong. Mm-hmm. But then there will come a time that they will find patterns of relationship that there's no trust because they don't trust their own instinct.
Right.
So there's a lot of healing that is going to happen, like healing in their souls that needs to happen.
Yeah, so a person might come to you with and not realize that they have that that it's because of either a miscarriage or an abortion or whatever, that baby wants to be recognized. And
yeah.
And just having that recognition and connection and blessing and naming, as you say, because it might show up in other relationships. Like, they might not be able to bond with other people. They might not, like you say, there's the trust is not there, right? Okay, so, and that's kind of, I want to make sure people know that. That's kind of the work you do too, right?
Yes. They come without knowing it, that it'll come out while we were in the energy of the Akashic.
Okay. So just... Yeah, so let's go. So now let's go back to your journey. So, because back then you didn't know this, and right. So you come to North America, and you're in Los Angeles.
Yes, Los Angeles.
Okay, so you ran away, and then I understand you got married very early then.
Before I got married, I got pregnant as a teenager.
Oh, okay. Again.
Yes, again. And for me, it was my atonement. I call it atonement because I was very religious, and I felt guilty even though the abortion wasn't my choosing. So I had this communication with God that the pregnancy that I have, I was hiding from my family. So they didn't know I was pregnant until 6 months because they can't kill the baby anymore. And I actually gave my son to my brother for adoption.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because my brother, they didn't have a child. So when I gave Matt to my brother, I went to Canada. This is how I came to Canada as a teenager.
Wow. So your brother was living in Canada?
Yes.
Okay, so so how beautiful that whole, you know, giving. It was a gift to you. It was a gift to your brother. It was a, and so you're still in communication with him. He knows that you're his birth mother.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
sweet.
30 years old now.
What's that?
He's 30.
Yeah, kids do grow up. So, okay, so from then, okay, then is that when you started to go into nursing? Is that when you?
That's when I met my husband, ex-husband, in Canada, and we were married within a month. It's a whirlwind romance, and we had 3 children. But the marriage didn't last because obviously I wasn't, because I see relationships as your mirror. So whoever is in your field is a mirror for you to know yourself. And I knew I was still wounded because I married a man who has the character and behavior of my father.
Uh-huh.
So then when the marriage ended, that's actually when I received forgiveness from my father. Yeah, he almost died. And he called on the phone, and my father said, I almost died, and I hear God to tell you that I'm asking for forgiveness.
So had you ever talked about any the incestual behavior that you referred to? Had you ever said to him that it was wrong or anything over the years as you were growing up?
No, I talked to my mother about it, and she denied it.
Oh.
So all those years, she actually never asked for forgiveness. And when she died, I was wondering, I wasn't crying, and everybody was crying. And one day, I was looking at her picture, and I heard this child's voice. It was my inner child. I heard it very clear, and she was saying, all I want you to do is to reject my father. And I would burst into tears.
So, okay, I'm not quite following that, and I really want to get this. You heard the inner child saying to you.
I heard a voice.
A voice, yeah. And it said, all I want you to do
is to reject my father, because I was looking at the picture of my mother.
Right.
At that moment. So my inner child was talking to my mother.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And so...
And then I started crying because I wasn't crying when she died.
Right, right. And so you had been waiting for your mom to acknowledge you.
Yes.
That she had allowed this to happen without protecting you. She didn't protect you.
Yeah.
And as sometimes, this is something I think a lot of people unfortunately are dealing with, is that, and as mothers, it's really important for us to listen to our children, because it might be a relative, it might be a stranger, it might be anyone, but it's not just that. It might not even be something like incest. It might not be that, but it could be just somebody who's putting down the child, somebody who's talking to them a way that's making them feel bad, or calling them stupid or whatever. When a child is saying to their parent or another adult, they're asking you, you're the adult. They're saying,
protect me.
Protect me. And we have this world, this same world I grew up in, Teza, so I really relate to this. But it was so much about the adults' rights and the adults' embarrassment or shame, or don't embarrass the adult, don't embarrass the teacher, don't make them feel bad. So basically the child was made to shut up about it. If you were in a classroom and the teacher was abusive and you went home and it was like, just go to school and do your work, and next year you'll have a new teacher. Instead of being adults. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that for many generations, the people in adult bodies weren't adults.
Yeah.
They didn't have a clue how to be an adult. And hopefully that's changing now with some of the, because I think the kind of work you're doing with the Akashic records and so forth, once you heal the child inside of you and bring it inside, you let it grow up. Then you can become an adult.
Yes.
Is
and
that
and you will feel you matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that your voice is important. But I think like this is why I think this kind of work is so important, is because I mean I grew up, my father died when I was 9, so I grew up feeling like abandoned and feeling the weight of that, being a child in that environment. So having no one to protect me, having no one to turn to, feeling very much alone in the world, even though, you know, I had siblings and so forth. But I think a lot of us had that kind of dynamic because of all kinds of different reasons why you might feel abandoned or that you don't matter or whatever. But when you have that wounding happening when you were a child, you don't have and you don't have anyone to help put it in perspective. Mm-hmm. You grow up, but you don't mature.
Yeah.
You stay with that wounding is still raw. And every time adult things happen to you, it's the child. So for me, it's that understanding that healing the child is what is going to let us live our lives as adults.
Yes. It's very crucial in our healing.
Right. So there's several reasons why it's coming up about your experiences, because it helps other people to know that there is another side. You don't have to stay a victim. You don't have to stay in that if that's happened to you, some childhood experience. And it doesn't have to be, some people think, well, I never had anything like that happen. I never had incest. I never had an abortion. It doesn't matter. If it happened to you, it's just as big as someone else having something else happen. Like it's yours. So everybody has their own experience of it, and it's still, you have a right to have it healed. Like sometimes people use a measuring stick and say, look, my parents were great. I had a great home. And there was nothing happened to me. And you think, okay, but if you're not living your best life, maybe there is something else. So, I'm curious about how you ended up in nursing then, and from nursing, did that lead you to go back into your spiritual, or how did that happen, if you would?
In my nursing career, I've been in the same nursing home for 22 years.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, I'm very committed. I just love this nursing home. It's my second home. And in my experiences, I have people dying when I'm there. Yeah. So for 8 years, I did night shift. And I would walk around the hallway, and I was religious then. I would do the rosary and divine mercy. And there's like 27 souls died in 1 month. And I'm like, okay, there's something going on here. I would ask Saint Faustina then that is this the work of the Divine Mercy? And she came to my dream and she sang, "Heal us of thy world." And I saw this vision. You know, there's a beautiful White House. There's 3 angels. There's rose petals in the ground, and she, you know, it's just amazing. I was always connected. And all I did with the dying is actually literally just, I whisper to them and I tell them, don't be afraid.
Right.
There's, your loved ones are waiting for you. And then they listen to that, and then they take a big gust and they open their eyes, they smile at me, and the room is full of love. It's like, it's expansion. It's a beautiful experience. And they usually die around 3 o'clock in the morning. And so, yeah, it's just amazing.
So
And
with so these people were well, they are coming there to die. Is that what is it their like is it not like a seniors home, it's a nursing home for people who are on their last parts of their life.
not really. It's a nursing home. It's a senior home, but there's only like the average year is 2 years when you live in a senior home.
Yeah. And is that because they're ready to go, or is it because like sometimes I wonder about that. Is it the fact that they've been disconnected from their lives, from what they normally, their people around them, and they've put into a place that they're not familiar with, they don't feel as home, and that's sort of why they decide, well then, I'm done, I want out of here. Or what do you think is...
There's a lot of sadness in the nursing home. Like there's abandonment from their family, disconnection, and they don't feel, there's no values anymore of like living. So there's lonesomeness, abandonment, and just not being a part of the society. So yeah, we try to really enjoy it. I'm a dancing nurse.
Are you?
Yeah. I dance with them, I sing. It's just, like bringing that joy to their last few years, right? They become really close to me, and I love nursing.
Yeah, it's nice though. It's not. It's funny how people get called to certain places, and the fact that you have this understanding and this, they probably feel safe with you. When some people, they talk about that in the process of leaving this world, there's a little unknown uncertainty, and so if they're with somebody who feels safe, it's okay, it's not going to be a bad thing. And how often that happens when people say to a person who's dying, it's okay, you can go, and they will go. It's like they've just been waiting for you to say that you're going to be all right without them. And so how lovely that you are in that environment where people feel like that. So why 27 people in 1 month? What was that?
Well, I think that was the miracle of that beautiful gift. And I was actually amazed. I opened my email the other day. There's a movie coming out about Saint Faustina.
Oh.
Biography. Yeah. Because my children actually went to Our Lady of Mercy, which is the covenant of Saint Faustina in Poland.
Okay, Saint Faustina is the, for people who might be not familiar with this, Sister Faustina is the one, she was given the Chaplet of Mercy or the Divine Mercy. There's a picture, which a lot of Catholics will have seen, maybe some other people, of Jesus, and then there's this rays of light that are coming from him, and it's the Divine Mercy, and the chaplet. Like there's traditions in the Catholic Church that where you say certain prayers over and over and over again, like the Rosary, which is a story told with prayers and so forth, and it's the same with the chaplet of the Divine Mercy, and which I am familiar with. But Sister Faustina was actually a nun who lived a human existence as well.
And she's the first saint in the 21st century.
In the which?
21st century.
Right. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So, so do you think that? And what I find interesting about the different faiths and religious beliefs and traditions, because I really do think there is so much beauty and in a lot of these traditions, even though sometimes there's also a lot of dogma and patriarchal attitudes that can take away from the real message, which, I mean, in this case with Jesus, it was always about love, love of everybody, not love more of men than women, or more. There was none of that. It wasn't. That's not Jesus' message. So, so I think it's always interesting when you can cross these worlds, which I have also done from my Catholic upbringing. And then, some people said to me, well, you're not a practicing Catholic anymore. And it's like, well, it's not about that. It's not that I've abandoned my beliefs. It's that I've expanded my beliefs. It's that now things that before were just a practice become a knowing. And when it becomes a knowing, then you're in a different space with all of everything. And some of the things fall away that are just man-made, or rules that, then you become more like, so you have different, and I'm sure different religions have, all the religions that I know of have a belief in angels. And so then when you have the saints and I mean, the saints is really a process that's been it's part of the Catholic tradition to make somebody a saint because of the miracles that they have happened after they died on this earth. It's the same as Saint Teresa. I mean, she said before she died that she would send roses to people when to connect. She wanted to spend her heavenly days doing little deeds on the earth. So if you have a devotion to her or the Blessed Mother too, you'll often find you can smell roses, or somebody will give you roses.
Yes.
So to me, these are examples of the dimensions falling away. It's that we are connected to the other side. We are connected to the spiritual realms. And when people die and drop their bodies, they go to the other, their work continues. And so some of them will just go on and do other things. They're done with this planet and they don't want to have anything to do with it. Whereas others really want to help the people on their journey. Is that your, I'm just, because I don't want to talk about things I'm expressing some of my beliefs, but for the audience, for the listeners, when you talk about Saint Faustina, I want to be sure they know what we're talking about, and that mercy that is happening through her, through Jesus Christ.
Yes. Well, yeah, I don't practice my religion anymore because I have more understanding of what spirituality is, and it's a universal. That's why the book is called Universal Conscious Self. That's who I am now, who I've become. Because I believe, as you have said, all these teachers, these ascended masters who have incarnated here, have bring forth their mastery, their practice. So just like the air, the oxygen is always here. So they're always here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like me in the sense you've expanded. It's not like you're not like you're denying that could be, or that you're beyond that now. You have a better understanding of, as you say, the ascended masters and so forth. So when did you wake back up to your gifts?
Okay. On 2008, I found this teacher who's Akashic Records teacher from Toronto, Jennifer Longmore, and I didn't even know what an Akashic Record is. I thought I was going to have a reading with her, and she told me I'm actually teaching the first time she's going to teach Akashic Records. So I was one of her first students here in Vancouver. And then after level 2, she said to me, "You're not a student, you're a teacher. So stop going to school." And eventually, after a month, I started writing. And then I thought I was going to write my my experiences, that victim consciousness. So in the morning, I woke up. I have a gift of hearing. I heard the word clear. And I'm like, what does clear mean? So I went to my computer and then they gave me this acronym as consciousness, love, energy, awareness, and remembrance. And I'm like,
Oh.
yeah, what does that mean? Because I don't know anything about it. And I started writing. I wrote 6 pages of a channeled message, which is called Star Lotus.
Wow.
And yeah, that book is actually almost 300 pages. I finished that on 2010. But every time there's 3 editors that tried to work on it, they get sick or they couldn't do it. Something is off. Like I couldn't publish it. And this book, Universal Conscious Self,
Yes.
it only took me 6 months.
Can you hold it up again? So, because it just, very good. Beautiful.
Thank you. And this one is like my simple steps, like the things that I teach in Akashic Records, how to access your records. So it's divided in 4 basic chapters. So this is like the whole picture, like the activation of your multidimensional stuff.
So who's the book for, this book, Universal Conscious Self? Is it for someone who has no understanding of the Akashic and the consciousness, the collective consciousness, the universal consciousness? Is it for that person who's just beginning, who's sort of saying, ooh, or is it a teaching tool, or is it, how do you describe it?
I think it's for everyone actually, because whatever stage you're at in your journey, you will find chapters that will resonate with you.
Right.
Yeah. Like my children would read it in the washroom. It's just in the washroom. So they'll just open it and find something about it. Because some of these things, actually my coworkers, they don't understand the last chapters, because that's the theme of activation, your multidimensional self, and connection with the universal energy and the universal intelligence of the soul.
And they don't understand it because they're not ready for it?
They're not ready, and they're not awakened. They're still attached to their life story. They're attached to this third dimensional world. So once they become ready, they would realize that, oh yeah, that's what she was talking about.
Yeah.
So it's a process.
Yeah, and everybody in their own time. It doesn't matter. I mean, when you're open to it, things fall into your lap. Being open is your biggest tool.
Yes.
Stuff will really, if you got a big wall up saying, no, I don't want to learn anything new, I'm stuck, this is what I've always believed, this is what my parents believed, and I'm sticking with it. Even though it's not working for me, I'm sticking with it. I always find that quite amusing when people say that. Yeah, this is what we always believed, and then they're complaining about their life, and it's like, do you see the connection at all? So,
it's fear, Catherine. It's the fear gets the big blockage is fear.
Yeah. And so when someone comes to you for a reading, they now, even though you're not practicing in the Catholic religion anymore, which is, it's not that unusual. I find that people, it's not about Catholic religion. It's not about whether it's right or wrong. It's not about any of that. It's about when you kind of expand, you kind of drop the man-made exclusive clubs and you become more inclusive. Like I find that, if it's Buddha or it's Kuan Yin or it's people, different faiths and different beliefs, whatever rings true for me, I find it's like, yeah, so I don't ever even try anymore to say, well, from what religion does that come? It's just part of the collective now.
Yes.
And so when someone comes to you for a reading, so you're still working with people privately distantly
Yes.
through Skype, and you do readings that way. What does that mean when to have a reading?
To have a reading, they come with questions and intentions. So in the reading, there's actually healing involved. So the questions, the guides would, the messages would be relayed. So it depends on the person's like appropriate, like at the moment. So whatever comes is just what she needed to hear. And then some people comes again for another reading, and yeah, it gives them the heightened awareness and sensitivities to their gifts. And
Yeah, a heightened awareness of what it is that might be blocking them. Is that kind of
yeah,
like, so like I might come to you and not even realize, I just know I'm not happy or I'm not feeling totally fulfilled. And so when I have a reading from you, what's going to come out is what I need to hear that day.
yes,
Right? So if because I think sometimes people, I've heard of this happening in psychotherapy, I think is one of the places. So they do some kind of regression or whatever, and then the person comes out and then they have this full-blown memory of incest, or they have a full-blown memory of something happening, and then it destroys the family, because all of a sudden they're saying, well, I know this happened. How do you know? And they're like, well, I had the memory through psychotherapy. And then there's this understanding that, well, somebody planted that story in your consciousness. But I have another theory about that, and that being, you could be remembering a past life, and that maybe the person, the therapist or whoever's helping you, isn't realizing that it is you, but it isn't, and it might even be your brother or your father or something like that who's in this life, but in the other lifetime, that's not who they were.
yes.
So, does that happen? Does that come
Oh, it
up?
happens a lot of times. Like actually, like I would see visions. Like I would see a vision of, for example, she was in a jail, or like I'm given a vision of a jail, and she was having a struggle, and then this client would say to me, "Oh my gosh, the jail is actually her marriage. She was going through hardship." So then that breaks her fear and gives her freedom to separate.
And so when a person has that kind of awareness, can say, let's for instance, it is a relationship, and they become aware that it's like a jail and imprisonment, and they're feeling disempowered and they're whatever. Is it possible to heal that past memory, which would change the current relationship so it isn't a jail, it isn't disempowering? Like we don't always have to leave relationships in this life once we've healed the wound. Like, have you had that happen to you? I'm just wondering, like, because a lot of times you hear people talking about at this time, there's a reason, a season, a lifetime why somebody comes into your life. So then people go, okay, well then I'm done with you, I'm out of here, but they haven't really healed anything. And maybe through healing it, they actually could maintain a long-term relationship with someone. I mean, not saying it always is the case, but have you had that happen where someone heals a past life and it changes the current relationship without anything else changing?
It's all about will. So it's freedom. It's all about choices. So this particular person would have this freedom. So it depends on her freedom or her choice. Then her Akashic records would be written. It's like as above, so below. So while you're doing the reading, your records in the spiritual realm is being written. So the person becomes more aware, more acquiring inner strength. And there's that the throat chakra, which is your choices. then she becomes more assertive. So she actually gains knowledge about herself. So now it depends on her choices on how she's gonna create that in her life.
So the Akashic Records is the place. The way I understood it is like a library of everything that you have ever experienced. Is in of everybody who's ever experienced everything. It's the big library, but it's not already written. Like so when you're reading something, it looks like this is where the Akashic Records would show that this is the potentiality of some situation, but it's not written in stone. Like, no, it's not written. So if I take a different, like I'm always, I've got a choice today, I'm going to go this way or that way, that will change what gets written.
Yeah.
As opposed to the other way around where we feel like it's already written and we're just living it. Like we have no choice. It's done. It's. So which is it? Which is your?
Like there's actually, it's all here. It's a universal field. So everything that you create is here. So as we talk right now, we're already creating what we're going to create more. So it's a creation. It's a substance. So everything. Every choices, every thought, every word, action has a rippling effect in the collective consciousness. So that's why there's a lot of awakening, because all we're awakening our inner codes, we're opening our records. So we're going through this ascension process, which is definitely just living our highest potential, and then by becoming our magnificent self, we attract and we radiate. We become the model,
right?
The model for others to see that they could do it themselves as well.
Yeah. So do you see yourself as a facilitator, someone who's helping people to? Because we all have access to the Akashic Records. It's not just for certain people, right?
No, we all have access. Through meditation, while you're dreaming, while you're getting all these messages, you're accessing your record because you're connecting to your soul.
Right.
But because people are not awake, they're not aware of this gift, they're still in that victim consciousness.
Right. So does your book talk about victim consciousness as well, and how we can shift out of that?
Yes. The first chapters are about awakening your egoic self, and then.
So the book itself is sort of broken into layers. So you're starting with it's called universal consciousness, conscious self.
Uh-huh.
And then the first part talks about the egoic self.
The awakening of the egoic self.
Okay, and then. The awakening of the egoic self?
Yes.
Okay.
Awakening of the egoic self.
Okay.
Which is, talking more about emotions that are not vibrating in your highest potential, like anger, fear, pain, suffering.
Okay.
So how you could shift them.
Okay. And then from there it goes into
awareness. Of our illusions, which is our relationships, like issues that are, we blame other person because of this and that, but really we are the magnet for this relationship, and that's why they are here, because they're projections. So once we become aware that we are the projector, we empower ourselves, and that's how we shift it.
Yeah, I've heard that before. We are the projector. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. And so, well, I'm wanting to, I don't want to super saturate people with information today, because this is a lot to take in, and I understand that. But, I'm going to let people know right now, Teza's going to be back, and we're going to reconnect and try to get the energy to settle down a little bit so that it's a little more easier for you to hear Teza's communication, because I find, like I've said at the beginning, I find this happens very often when I have people who have that. It's like you have a window open to the other dimension a lot more than other people do, so that the energy just goes, oh yeah, let's talk, let's everybody talk today. And it gets very busy. But I think the information is so important, and I want to encourage people to go to Let's Get Real Chattin with Catherine.com. Go to the guest link on the top navigation bar, and you will get Teza's profile page, and you can get the links to the book. And just, is it in stores or just on the website?
It's online. I haven't been to the stores.
It's online, yeah.
Amazon.com.
Okay.
And balboapress.com.
Okay, Amazon.com and balboapress.com. Okay, but they can get the links right on your profile page, which is awesome. And also, just, is there anything that you feel that you really want to share just before we conclude this section?
Really, it's all about love and enjoy your life. Because this is your, adventure. It's hard to be in this body again, and it's just amazing. It's just enjoying the moments with your relationship, with all the people that is being brought to you. They are special, and everyone's a gift. We all have gifts.
Yeah.
And live your life joyfully.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to definitely have to do more shows, and because I want to know and I don't want you to tell me today. We want to keep this for next time, but I want to know when you finally said, all right, I'm going to go into this. I'm going to step into this, because I think it's very exciting, like you're right. And it's funny, because we think about you only live once. We hear that all the time. And of course, for a lot of people, we started to realize that's not true. But you do only live once in this body.
Yes.
And with this dynamic, in this particular setting. So it is important to see your gifts and to really live your best life.
Oh, yes.
Thank you so much, Teza, for joining me. This has been very enlightening and delightful, and I encourage people to go and check out her book on unconscious, I'm going to say it right, universal conscious self. The unconscious was speaking. All right. And to the rest of you, thank you for watching. Absolutely. Check out the website for all the guests and all the shows. Until next time, take care.
Isn't that amazing? Thank you to my guests for sharing with us today. Thank you for watching. Feel free to share the link. You can join us for live shows by going to letsgetrealchattinwithcatherine.com and listen to the replays from the show page, preview guests, and explore links to our Facebook fan page, WordPress blog, and more. We are creating an exquisite world. Until next time, take care.